Hi there, welcome back and thanks for joining. We're going to continue our Payroll Control Center talk today, and without further ado, let's get into it. If you were with us last time, then you have already been introduced to our Payroll Control Center integration and how our reporting engine is utilized to simplify the creation and maintenance of PCC policies. Because our simple drag-and-drop report building interface replaces the need to write ABAP code, changes are made quickly, directly in production, outside of the typical transport-driven implementation cycle. But of course, there's more. The SpinifexIT PCC integration also includes extra reporting menus tailored to performing detailed investigation into each policy discrepancies. For example, exceeds. Here's a quick example. Let's say you have a policy that looks for anyone with a gross amount over $10,000. With a standard PCC, it can easily pick up 10 people who probably exceed this amount. Who they are, how much the gross is, and that's that. With our PCC integrated solution, you can see more, why it happened, and what the details are that led to the occurrence. You can easily figure this out and do your research without leaving the system or performing manual cross-checks and lookups. That's really an exciting functionality and what my colleague will be providing today. We are going to look up an example of this policy which checks for retros over a given amount. For our illustration today, it's set to $5,000, so that's what we'll be working with. In a future session, we'll show you how easy it is to set and change the dollar amount. For today, we are going to focus on how policies show up in the PCC Plus and how we use the Easy Reporter engine to drill into the details. I'll now turn you over to one of our consultants who'll show you this in action.
Thank you, everyone. I trust you can see my screen now. So what you're seeing is my Payroll Control Center after I entered my login credentials. Let me call your attention to a couple of tiles that are relevant to those people who actually run the payroll process. One is here on the left called Process Management, which we're actually going to take a closer look at during the next web session. Today, we're going to drill into this second one called Error Management. For the end user of the Payroll Control Center, that's the tile that's going to take them to the results after the Payroll Control Center has run through all of the configured policies. So let's just take a look now in my system by clicking on the tile. What you're seeing now is a list of what is called a process. A process is simply a collection of steps. So I have, for example, a process called the USA Monthly Simulation Payroll Run. Inside of that are all the steps that need to be gone through to, carry out that process. As one of those steps, I've told the system to run through my list of policies. And in doing so, now I'm looking at the results, and it's telling me there were 11 errors, or what you might call 11 policy exceptions. They aren't necessarily errors because everything might be fine, but there are 11 instances of people, meeting the conditions that are inside that policy so that you should perhaps go take a closer look. If I click on the All Errors link right here, you can see the full list. Scrolling down, I have some policies where no one was found. 0 base pay, 0 errors. If I scroll up, I can see the ones where it actually did find people that we want to go check out. For example, here's one personnel number locked for payroll. If I pick that one and I've got a little scroll bar here on the right, there are 2 people listed, Barry and Paula. If I select an employee, screen's going to come up here and I'm going to see an overview at the top here. Kind of provides a bunch of organizational information. This is all configurable. You can change per every policy what kind of overview you would like to have presented. That is a per policy type of configuration. All right, so keeping that in mind, let's keep looking at a few other things. I'm going to arrow back. And what we mentioned earlier is that we want to take a closer look at a particular policy. that was the one called retro pay over amount. So if I click on that one, you can see it says one error. I'm going to bring that up. Here is my employee that I need to investigate, Mr. Braden Washington. Now, if I click on Mr. Braden Washington, it is going to bring me to a screen with that overview at the top. And then something that I want to show you here, I've already queued it up so I can show you. In addition to the overview at the top, there's going to be a special section at the bottom, which is actually a report menu. This is a menu of easy reporter reports. So standard Payroll Control Center does not have this at all. There is no bottom section. It's the overview and that's it. With the integration from SpinifeX, you get the ability here to launch out into some easy reporter reports. Now, what does this all mean? For every given policy, you have the ability inside of Easy Reporter to say, okay, here's the menu of reports I would like to see. So every policy can have a different menu, can have different reports. This one says it has 4 payroll reports, 4 master data reports, all configurable. If I click on any one of those, I get to the actual reports themselves. So when I go into the payroll analysis folder, you can see I've got several reports listed here. So we have configured inside of Easy Reporter that this particular policy should have access to these particular reports. If I pick one, what it's going to do is actually go run that report on Mr. Braden Washington, not the full population, just on him, to hopefully give you some more information while you're investigating what's going on with him. He showed up on the policy retro pay over amount. Why is that? So this particular one, if I scroll down a little bit, you can see it shows us gross deductions and the net payment. If I open up gross, I can see, oh, it's wage type 1002 salary. If I go a little further, drill in, I can see, well, current and retro. He had a fairly substantial retro amount, didn't he? That's why he came out on this particular policy, which is configured to look for retro pay over $5,000. If I open up the retro of $6,000, I can see what periods retroed. Period 5 and period 6 were my retros. Scroll down a little bit for you here so that you can see that. Okay, so it's all based on a pre-configured menu that you decide what reports should be in here, or what reports might be helpful to investigate this policy, and then the end user is able to run them, and they don't have to leave the Payroll Control Center. They stay right here in the Payroll Control Center. They don't have to open up more SAP screens. They have the ability to get to those details that are going to help them figure out, okay, is this all right? Is it all right that he had retro pay over this dollar amount, or is it an issue? And of course, inside the Payroll Control Center, they have some options here based on the results of their investigations. They can, for example, say set to resolved. That's what the team member looking at this particular policy exceedance would do. Okay, so I hope that was a good example for you, and you know a little bit now about the policies and where Easy Reporter comes in and helps you fine-tune how to use the Payroll Control Center to investigate your policies. That does conclude the demo portion of today's presentation, so I'm going to return you to our moderator for some final thoughts.
Thanks for the demo. Exciting stuff ahead. Now you're seeing more of the additional value SpinifexIT solutions bring to your PCC implementation and how your payroll looks in the future. The ability to drill down and investigate within the solution really makes the payroll reconciliation process a breeze. Join us next time as we further explore the importance of running payroll validation reports before, during, and after the payroll process, and how to utilize the Payroll Control Center for that purpose.